All right, continuing on with my reread of the Dresden Files. This is Death Mask. At the time when I had read this originally, it had been my favorite of the early, 5 books? And it's still phenomenal. It's just that things get so much better going forward. I love Death Mask. The themes are changing to more, we still have the crime noir vibe of it, but we go into more of a focus with the supernatural politics. The war is in nearly full swing. We're presented with an opportunity to end the war, save thousands of lives, but at a certain cost. And there you have the cost of one's actions. Harry made a choice, he acted, and now we are facing the consequences of those actions. We are introducing new villains, the greatest villains that the Dresden Files has ever had, and I love their introduction and completely held up. We get Susan back and her own side story that's going on that could be its own series. We get Harry, his development as a character, as we see not only his friends, which have always been the best part of him and how much he cares about them and wants to help people, but also more of his vulnerability. I adore the Dresden Files as a whole. I love Death Mask on its own. I love that we focus more on the Knights of the Cross. I am not a religious person by any means. And of course, they have heavy Christian themes surrounding them, but really what they are is a focus on faith, in people, in doing the right thing, regardless of what religion they practice or believe in. They just uphold the standards that they have set for themselves and want to do the best for everyone around them, to help. And I love, love, love the Knights of the Cross. I love a character who is introduced called the Archive, and she is an angel with all the power and knowledge of the world, and I love her so much. Harry is hired to retrieve a stolen object, in this case, the Shroud of Turin, some big Christian artifact, and belief gives power, so he needs to get that before things get crazy. Spoilers, things get crazy. So end of spoiler free, this is still hilarious. This is one of the greatest of the early books, both in characters and character development and depth and themes around them. I love Death Mask, full stop, and this doesn't even have the fairies in it. When I first started the series, I thought the fairies would be my least favorite part. I love the fairies. They're not in here. That's unfortunate. But we have the new villains, and they're even better. Quick spoiler thoughts before detailed plot summary and spoiler thoughts. The Denarians, the best villains of this, fallen angels linked to the coins that were used to pay off Judas. Each one containing a fallen angel who corrupts you to your very soul, and you can either be corrupted, lean into it and just help them and be a co-conspirator, or you can surrender the coin, just give it up. But it's so hard to give up, and I love that concept. I love these demon angels. I love the Denarians. What they're doing, who knows, just wants chaos on Earth. And their leader, Nicodemus, is absolutely brutal and terrifying monster, full stop. Can't wait to continue with this series to see more of him. We have the Red Court War and Ortega, and him being a very satisfying villain in the sense that he's not outright villainous. He's a vampire, but he's very logical. He's offering a deal to Harry, and whether or not Harry takes that deal and saves millions or hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, who knows, at the cost of his own life, at a personal cost. 100%. I love Ortega's introduction. The Archive, though, is my favorite character. Ivy is a delight. I love the idea of this little child with the knowledge from generations past, from her mother and her mother before her and her mother before her, taking on all this knowledge and then being the reservoir, the holder of it for humanity. And in this world, knowledge is power. So God almighty, she must be powerful. And then you have Kincaid, her bodyguard, because she's 4 or 8 or however old she is. She can't get by in this world without somebody taking care of her. And he genuinely, to me, yeah, he's being paid, but it's yeah, you're my job to take care of you, but you're still a kid. I'm a human. I'm going to protect this child a little bit of my own personal reasons. Also, I'm paid up till September, so I'm good to take care of you. I love Kincaid. He's a delight as well. Everyone's a delight. We get Thomas, we get the Red Court vampires, we get Susan, who has been off on her own adventure, and we could have a full side story involving her. And her and Harry's relationship have always been, I just love when people trust each other. So for Susan to, from the beginning, just believe he's a wizard, and for them to have a cute dynamic and bantering back and forth and a genuine camaraderie. I like Susan and Harry, okay? I've never liked Harry and Murphy. It's not a thing I've ever wanted. I like Susan and Harry. We introduced Butters. I didn't even mention that. Butters? Oh, he is a phenomenal character. Can't wait to see him in later books. We get Mortimer, who will play a role in later books, not a bigger role, but still, he's there. Good introductions, solid cast, building up the world, making this area of Chicago feel like a real place, even if I've been told by people who have been to Chicago, none of this makes sense for geography-wise. Doesn't matter. The world feels real. The characters and how they interact among each other is everything I need. And that's all I got. On to Past Jessica, spoiler talk, full plot summary as I'm preparing for the new book's release. And he's like, why do you even need a bodyguard? It's like, my feet can't touch the pedals. So, because she can't drive. She's like 4. All right, I'm at chapter 8 of my reread for Death Mask. And we start off with Harry at a TV studio. He's on a talk show for a Larry Fowler. The reason he went on this show is to give an opportunity to speak to a guy named Mortimer, who's an ectomancer, does seances, communicating with the dead, stuff like that. Mortimer refuses to speak to Harry just because Harry got a reputation of people around him getting into trouble, possibly dying, you know, assassins, the war, everything like that. And it's like, I can't be seen with you in public. It's not happening. So this way we got plausible deniability that we're not friends. And he wants information on Susan, make sure she's not dead, if his contacts in the afterlife have heard from her or anything about her, especially with the Red Court vampires sending so many people to the underworld or afterlife. And Harry goes to talk to him. They have their chat. Larry's making fun of the fact that these two people believe in magic and the occult and stuff like that. He then brings on 2 guests, a father, I wrote down their names, Father Vincent and a Dr. Paolo Ortega. Now, it's funny because Dr. Fowler Ortega guy is just like, yeah, don't believe in the occult nonsense. I've investigated, none of it's true. I mean, with enough sleight of hand, I could probably convince you people that I'm a vampire. Guess who's a Duke Court, Red Court vampire? Yeah, Ortega is there to speak to Harry, to threaten him, saying, listen, I want a duel. If we end this war now, then by killing you, then it'll be cause peace, and we won't have to go after your loved ones, and it'll save lots of people. Harry's response is, hey, I'm not letting you go after my loved ones, so of course he's going to accept the duel. However, like in terms of just laying down my life to sacrifice myself to save everybody, yeah, good in theory, but like I could also like kill all the vampires, and that would result in less people dying. So why don't you just do that instead? Hint, hint. Ortega, not a big fan, but we're going to have our duel eventually. It's got to be official through the channels of the, between the White Court and White Council and Red Court through the Accords. And then we have back to Father Vincent, who is also there to speak to Harry. Everyone's there to speak to Harry because something has gone missing, and Father Forthill, that we know from the past that works with Michael, referred him to Harry to help him find something. Father Forthill also doesn't believe in the occult and magic and all that, but he likes Father Forthill, so he knows Harry has connections that will help him find some object that has been stolen. But before Harry can get any information out of him, they leave the studio because Harry loses his temper a little bit when Ortega threatens him, and he happens suppressing his magic to not cause everything to self-destruct, as magic and electronics do not get along. So technology in terms of cameras and the lights and everything start to malfunction when he stops suppressing his magic. And then when they're out in the parking lot and they're having the chat by the Blue Beetle, that's totally blue, someone pulls out a gun and starts shooting at him. So Harry, in response, pulls out a shotgun and starts shooting back. He realizes it's from Marcone's crew because he recognizes who he calls Cujo. Is like red hair, no neck. I don't need to describe him, but I like Cujo, okay? I really like Cujo. Not at this point, but by later points, I like Cujo. So Harry and the father get away away. They go to a motel, and the father explains, yeah, the Shroud of Turin was stolen, and it was like the burial shroud of Jesus with his face imprinted on it in his own blood kind of thing. And whether or not it's an actual artifact that exists as it's said to in scriptures, Harry knows that the fact that people believe in it will be enough to give it magical properties on its own. So definitely needs to get this back. One of the, who's called the church mice, was a thief that supposedly stole it, was found killed, tortured, laid out, and Harry's like, yeah, this looks like a little setup. And you say he had a ticket to a plane to come to Chicago to sell this thing. Yeah, this is a setup. We're going to have to look into this. So Harry takes the job to find this shroud. He also tells the father he's not going to tell anybody that he's looking for it, just confidentiality kind of thing. Murphy then calls him, like, listen, we got to go to the morgue. All right, you paying me for this? No, you're doing this pro bono. Fine, whatever. So they go to the morgue where they find someone who has been tortured, head cut off, hands missing, and we are introduced to Butters. He is the coroner. We love Butters. Butters has had a sheer bad luck because, hey, there was a fire a little while ago, and in his report it says, yeah, these are humanoid, but they're not human. And Harry's like, yeah, those are the Red Court vampires I torched a while ago. And Murphy's like, yeah, he spent time in a psych ward because he refused to change his report. Oh, sorry about that, Butters. So Butters ends up calling Murphy anytime some weird corpse kind of comes across his desk, as he's now on night shift because, you know, demoted for saying vampires exist. He didn't say vampires. He said humanoid creatures. But this here corpse suffered... Cause of death is not the fact that he's missing his head and hands, is the fact that he suffered through every single disease known to man, basically. Bubonic plague, smallpox, strep throat, you name it, this guy had it. And that's weird. So Harry agrees to help Murphy figure that out. We also get some information on demons. So Murphy asks the difference between demons and fallen and stuff like that, and I feel this might be important. Demons are just intelligent beings from somewhere in the Never Never. Mostly they don't care about the mortal world, if they notice it at all. The ones who do are usually the hungry type or the mean type that someone calls up to do thug work. And the fallen? They're very much interested in our world, but they aren't free to act like demons are. Why aren't they? Depends on who you talk to. I've heard everything from advanced magical resonance theory to because God said so. One of the fallen couldn't do this unless it had permission to. Accidentally skipped ahead a little bit. So before Harry went to the morgue, Susan showed up at his apartment and they had a talk. So he had been talking to Mort, trying to find her. He had realized that she was last seen in Peru, but now she's here to warn Harry that... about the Red Court and Ortega's plan to kill him to end the war, but other people are happy to let Harry live so they can continue the war, more bloodshed, stuff like that. They end up having a moment kissing when the saliva of the Red Court vampire, because she's been half-turned, starts to affect Harry, to which Mr. responds to it, Harry's cat. And I love Mr. He's supposedly a regular cat, but I think we all agree that there's something magical about him. Or maybe he's picked something up over the years or sensing that she's a vampire, so they have to break it off. It's more or less probably going to end in a breakup, but she is there to retire from the newspaper that she's working for, hence why her columns have come so late. She's doing investigation with the Red Courts, trying to stop them. Her partner ends up showing up. Harry gets jealous. He has some mundane name and is very forgettable, and Harry's very jealous. What was his name? Martin. Martin is her partner within the Red Court resistance, we'll call it. And now then he goes to the morgue, and then after leaving the morgue, he gets attacked by a bear. Except it's not just a bear. It's a bear with 4 eyes, of tattoos glowing around its forehead, ram horns, and I think 8 legs. So it starts attacking Harry. Harry, being smart, starts running. He has also been preparing for stuff like this because he's had to run a lot and he's been out of breath, so he's taken up running as a hobby. So he's doing very well, but then there's 2 citizens that get in the way. There's a young black man and an old, small Japanese man. I think they just call him Asian, quite honestly. In attempting to protect them, Harry takes a stand, grabs his blasting rod, grabs his staff, shoots fire and a blast of energy at the bear, sends it flying, it gets back up, he shoots it back. He's starting to make some headway, but eventually he does make eye contact. Now, spirits and monsters like this should not have a soul to cause a soul gaze, except this time it does. We see a man being crucified on a cross. The planes around him open up into a mouth that screams at Harry to get out. Harry can feel the man's sufferness as he's going crazy in this dream world soul gaze. And then when he gets pushed back by the psychic force, he's almost knocked out of it. This is power that he's never seen before, and he tells the other two civilians to run, except it turns out they're not civilians, because the old man gives Harry his glasses, like, hold this please, takes his cane, whacks the bear, starts dancing around it, eventually pulls out a sword, that shining, illuminating light. Harry recognizes it almost immediately as a sword of the cross. So these are Knights of the Cross. Their swords have a piece of the nail that was used to crucify Jesus in it, and he starts fighting this bear creature, calling him Ursel? Yeah, Ursel. So, but eventually, while they're talking back and forth, it seems like Shiro, the Knight of the Cross, is trying to reason with him to surrender, to give up, to fall back into the light kind of thing, give up this demon that's inside of him. But it doesn't work. Eventually his voices change, and he ends up leading him into a trap where Michael comes, chops off his head, kills the bear creature, who reverts back to human, that ends up being a guy who was taken back in like the gold rush of 18-something odd, that was possessed by this demon, this fallen, technically. And the black man who was with him is actually a Russian guy named Sonia. I forgot how much I love Sonia, because Harry and him are talking, and at one point Harry's talking about how he's not Wiccan or anything like that. It has a religious component. He's not a witch. He's a wizard. Sonia asks what's the difference. Harry says, well, wizard got a Z in it. They don't laugh. And Harry's just like, no one gets my humor. But eventually explaining that he doesn't really have any religious affiliation or belief. To which Sonia says, yeah, I understand that. I've been an atheist all my life, so that's true. You're an atheist? Yeah. You're a Knight of the Cross? Yeah. Where'd you get your sword? The Archangel Michael gave it to me. And you don't believe in religion or anything? I guess I could technically be agnostic. I love Sonia. So they're chatting over sandwiches. Michael tells Harry, listen, you're in over your head. What else is new? I need you to leave town. Do this for me, please. You're my friend. I don't want anything to happen to you. Get out of town. Harry's just like, no. So we learn about the Denarians here. I love the Denarians. So the coins. So when the bear demon thing that was killed, a coin fell out of his mouth. This coin essentially holds the temptation of the fallen angel things, or fallen, maybe they're demons. And if you touch it, then that demon, I'm calling them demons, this fallen, I don't like the term fallen, can speak inside your head and tempt you. It can't override like your will, but eventually you'll give into it and become this monster. And the Denarians apparently want Harry. So that's where we're at. All right, continuing on with Death Mask. So Harry summons a spirit into a Cabbage Patch doll under the advice from Bob to get more information. This is like a spirit that is normally helpful, less sadistic. And said Cabbage Patch doll is drinking and smoking. No one understands how this is happening because they're possessing a doll, but nothing's falling on the floor. And tells Harry, the shroud is going to be at like the harbor on this boat. You can go there. This is the direction that you will find it. But also telling Harry about a prophecy that that the knights were made aware of an altered version of it, and that's why Michael doesn't want him to help, because the prophecy says that Harry's going to die if he gets involved, but if he doesn't get involved, then everyone is going to die. So of course Harry is going to help. We also have Bob going to search Marcone's place, but he ends up coming back injured is putting it lightly. He is shredded. And so Marcone has now wards around his house as he's getting more involved in the supernatural aspect. In my opinion, he needs to be more involved because I love the mafia aspect of this story and I want more from it. Harry, of course, makes an anti-venom to help deal with the vampire stuff that's going on. And he also calls McCoy his father figure, person who raised him after the incident in childhood, that's on a farm, and they're chatting, and he offers Harry sanctuary at his farm where he would be safe, but that would mean abandoning all his friends here and the work that needs to be done, so of course he rejects that. They do casually mention a nicer time when they were kids, stargazing and at the telescope. They thought they saw an asteroid one time, but it turns out it was an abandoned Russian satellite, and I'm sure that will never come up again in the story. I can't believe I overlooked that the first time I read this book. But that was probably because I was distracted by the best thing that this book or series could introduce, and that is the archive. I love Ivy. I love that Harry gives her name. So she is this sweet, sweet little girl. How old is she? 7, maybe? A 4? I'm bad with kids' ages in real life, let alone fantasy books. She's adorable. She's a sweetheart. She has all the collective knowledge of the world and universe. Anything that has ever been written down, possibly anything that's ever been spoken, she knows about. And it is the accumulation of all the knowledge of the world, of the human species, that resides in her, and in this world we know knowledge is power, so she's extremely powerful, but she's still just a little kid. She wants to play with Mister, and he loves her and lets her pet him without trying to bite her and scratch her, and it's adorable. She has a bodyguard, Kincaid, and he's like, why do you even need a bodyguard? It's like, my feet can't touch the pedals, because she can't drive. She's like 4 or 7, I don't know how old she is. She's a sweet, sweet girl. Kincaid is just a mercenary. No supernatural powers, he just has a lot of guns. And Harry's like, well, can he be trusted? And she's like, can we trust you, Kincaid? He's like, you're paid up till September. He can be trusted until September. And I love them so much. But again, I love it so much because Harry's just like, okay, what do I call you? What's your name? And she's like, I am the Archive. That's a title, that's not your name. Why don't I call you Ivy? And she's like, Ivy. I like that. He gave her a name in a world where names have so much power and significance. I love it. I love her. I love her so much. So Ivy tells him the rules for the duel and that he needs to get a second or else he'll forfeit, and that means she'll take him out. So he will go to Michael to ask him to be his second. That's Harry's plan. But first I think he goes to the harbor. No, he calls Michael, but Molly answers the phone, his eldest daughter, I believe. Or his daughter for sure. I don't know if she's the eldest. And Molly, who is a character that I have liked and then disliked and then liked again, back and forth. I'm very back and forth with her character, but I do like her. Molly is talking to him, but Charity ends up answering afterwards, getting on the phone. Charity and Harry has a rocky relationship because Charity doesn't like that her husband keeps getting hurt when Harry's involved. And he explains that he just needs to talk to Michael. So Charity says he'll call him back. So now he goes to the harbor, where we linger on a woman's body for a very long time. Harry calls it investigating. It's surprisingly not that pervy and grossly written, especially for the Dresden Files. And quite honestly, that's really the only real moment in the book where we're a little too lingery. So quite honestly, I feel the over-sexualization of female characters in the Dresden Files, while accurate, might be a little bit exaggerated. It's definitely a problem, but it's not as bad as I remember from my first read. Now, she ended up tricking Harry to come on the boat thinking that she would be in the shower and he can just get in and steal the shroud, which he does. He gets in, sees the safe, realizes that's a decoy because the church mice are smart. They haven't been caught by the FBI. So he's able to just see it like a laundry basket. It's like that's where they would hide it for quick access to get to and be able to flee at a moment's notice. So he gets to the laundry basket, is able to get the shroud, but then of course someone comes behind him, I think it was Francesca, pulling a gun on him as Anna comes out of the bathroom, fully clothed. She was not showering, with another gun. They're like, yeah, we knew you were listening in. But before they can take Harry out, they banter back and forth. Neither wants to kill the other because that would make a mess and that would screw up her plan. She'd have to clean up, dispose of the body. No one wants to do that. So she's going to handcuff him to the door, steals his jacket. We're very upset about that. But the girl, Anna, is distracted by the fact that a Denarian with hair craziness, with blades on it, cuts through the ship and starts attacking them. Does she pepper spray them in the face? She pepper sprays someone. Was it Harry or the Denarian? It's been a couple days. Okay, so Anna shoots them. I like Anna in terms of her response to all the supernatural stuff throughout the book is, I'm just going to shoot them. So Anna recovered from the surprise first. She already had a gun out and ready, but she hadn't been trained in how to use it in a real combat.
She pointed the gun more or less at the Denarian and emptied it at her in the space of a panic breath. Does basically nothing. You're shooting a demon thing. Harry ends up getting hold of the pepper spray and does pepper spray the Denarian in the face. There's some back and forth. Harry ends up using a fire, threatening to use a fire spell that would have possibly incinerate them all. It's not a good idea to use fireball in an enclosed area, but it does live up to the hype of, I didn't ask how big the room was, I don't care how close my allies are, I cast fireball, which is very much a Harry thing. So Harry ends up gathering power for that. Denarian sensed it, took off, and fled the scene. However, not before killing Franziska a little bit earlier. One of the church mice, the one who was most impacted by Harry saying that Gaston, the guy from, I'm assuming it was Italy, some church place that where the shroud was stolen from, was killed. So Anna, recovering semi-fast, is just like, what was that? And he's like, a demon. And Harry's misogynistic chivalry, however you want to describe the weakness to women, kind of wins out as he's very upset that Franziska was killed. And like, I know it's not, it shouldn't be different if it's a woman or a man that was killed. He legit thinks that, but it does affect him more when a woman is killed, especially when he couldn't protect them. And now he wants to protect Anna, get her out of here. Anna doesn't really care for it, so she knocks him out. How did she knock him out? Was it the pepper spray or a punch to the face? So Harry asks, how are you? Can you walk? Before she could answer, the ship lurched and leered to one side. Water's coming in. The hull is breached. He asked, can you get out? And light exploded behind my eyes as I dropped my hands and knees at the bottom of the stairway. Anna had slugged me with something. A second burst of light and pain drove my head far enough down to splash some cold water against my forehead. I dimly saw Anna's foot kick my blasting rod away from me. She then picked up the shroud in its packaging from the counter and tore off the top sheet of the hotel memo pad. I saw that she had blood on her jacket, soaked through, and she stained her fatigue pants down to the top of her left leg. She grabbed my coat, stole his coat. Wincing, and one of the duffel bags, she put my leather duster on, covering the blood. The water had filled the cabin almost to the top of her combat boots. But she did drag him out of the water so he wouldn't drown. Like, this is my thank you, because again, bodies are a hassle and a mess. So, stole his coat but saved him. But then when he came to enough, he did go back to Franziska to close her eyes in remorse. He didn't want her to die. And then eventually he gets away, calls up the father, and she's like, yeah, had the shroud, lost the shroud, call you back when I get more information. So very much sleep-deprived Harry drags himself home, only to get a call from Butters before he can actually get a full night's rest to explain that all the germs are gone from that body that had the plagues, all the plagues. And Harry is just like, yeah, Sunrise is going to do that. He's like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, done. It kind of reverses or weakens a magical entities, sets things back to normal. So surviving multiple sunrises, it's all going to be wiped away. And he's like, vampire germs? And Harry's, not exactly, but yeah. Call Murphy, keep everyone up to date, call me if you get anything new. He tries to go back to sleep, only for another knock on his door, and this time it ends up being Susan. So Susan comes in, Harry thinks they're having their formal breakup, which they are, but Susan explains that the Red Court have the villages across the country, different parts of the world, where they feed on the people around them. They're slave camps used for blood, and she just can't stand by. This is now going to be her life's work to try to stop this, and it's her purpose. It's how she can help these people and fight back against the Red Court. Martin is not her boyfriend. He's his her assistant partner, whatever. They work in pairs. He's got his own mission going on. And Harry, it is emotional because I like Harry and Susan together. They have a good dynamic. I like that she believed him from the beginning. Her work with the arcane, her stories, how she interacted with Harry and his world, but she, as a human, got involved too fast, put herself in too much danger, and now she's into transitioning to be a vampire, but now she's still helping how she can, and she asks Harry, why don't you come with me? But he realizes he has his own work, his own family, his own friends here, people that he can't abandon, just like she can't abandon those who've helped her since she is in transition of the Red Court, and the people who need help and how she can attack back and fight back against the Red Court. So they have to separate. They have to break up. Just a clean break, but they still love each other so much. And it feels real. It feels genuine. Harry goes to the Carpenter family, where he ends up in a treehouse thinking someone was coming and could do harm, but it ends up being Molly, the daughter. She's dressed in a punk, I guess, torn pants, all that. Charity would not approve. Too much makeup for someone her age, but, you know, rebellion, very much in character for a young girl who wants to be older than she is, wants to stand out, developing her own personality, rebelling against a religious mother and father, and stuff like that. And Harry and her have a nice talk. Harry purposely bleeps out moments of the conversation. It's like, you're too young to talk about sex. We're not talking about that. She's like, you can bleep out the fun parts if you want. We're not talking about it. Because she was asking about him and Susan's relationship and how they're a hot item. It's like, what did you just say? It's like, well, that's what Mother said. Your mother said that? Okay, she didn't use those words. And, yeah, Molly ends up suggesting, well, she's a vampire now. Why don't you just tie her up so she can't bite you? And he's like, we're changing the conversation. And it's a cute dynamic. I like it. I like Molly in this book. Do not like her in other books. Like her in other books. She's a complicated character for me. I don't know if I like how she's handled. I probably don't, but I do. I think I like her. I'm liking her more on reread. I'm not questioning how she has keys for the handcuffs that Harry is currently in. But Shiro shows up. He was helping the Carpenters with babysitting duty and grocery runs, and it's adorable. And Harry explains about the duel that's coming up. Shiro had taken part in duels in the past, and he turns to Charity and he's like, would Michael help him? And Charity's just like, yes, he would in a heartbeat. Then I will be your second. And Harry is just like, you don't have to do this. You don't know me. I don't need to know you. Michael knows you, and he would help you. And they have a conversation with Charity, and he's just like, you know, you could have lied. You could have said, no, Michael wouldn't help if you didn't want Shiro involved. And she's like, lying didn't even cross her mind. It's a beautiful, beautiful moment. So Harry ends up bringing in the bags of groceries. They have a nice domestic moment. There's hostility between him and Charity, but not a hatred. She's protective of her family. She loves her family. She loves her husband, and she knows Harry brings danger. I looked up to see Charity frowning at me. There were dark circles under her eyes that I hadn't noticed before. What do you mean? Just now, when Shiro asked you if Michael would help me, you could have said no. But he would have helped you in an instant. You know that. Shiro didn't. Her expression became confused. I don't understand. You could have lied. Her face registered comprehension, and some fire came back in her eyes. I don't like you, Mr. Dresden. I certainly don't care enough for you to abandon my beliefs that I hold dear, to use you as an excuse to cheapen myself, or to betray what my husband stands for. She stepped to the cabinet and got out a small, neat medicine kit. Harry cut his finger while helping her chop vegetables. Without another word, she took my hand and the paper towel and opened up the kit. So you're taking care of me? I asked. I don't expect you to understand. Whether or not I can personally stand you, it has no bearing on what choices I make. Michael is your friend. He would risk his life for yours. It would break his heart if you came to grief, and I will not allow that to happen. She fell silent and doctored the cut with the same brisk, confident motion she used for cooking. I hear that they make disinfectant that don't hurt these days, but Charity uses iodine. I like their relationship. I love Charity and her family and her past and everything. Okay, I am a little bit further reading. I've only got like the last couple chapters left to read, so I will continue in a moment. Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden will be so proud of me because A, I finished Death Mask, and B, I started running. And I started hating it, like despising running, and now I love it. And I'm not good at it, but I'm getting better. Now, where did I leave off? We have left the Carpenter house, and when Harry got home, Murphy was there, and he catches her up on the whole boat fiasco, but not because he brought it up willingly. He probably would have. But Murphy's just like, so, there was a report, we got a murder on a boat, and a witness reported someone fleeing the scene in this cloak and a tall guy with a staff. You know anything about that? He's like, yeah, I meant to bring that up to you. You're a witness to a murder. And now, I held Murphy, I disliked her character for a very long time, and I held the past events against her unreasonably so for a very long time. Because in book one, I could never decide if she believed in the supernatural and what Harry was doing, and therefore didn't trust him to make his own decisions on the supernatural events, and how she would arrest him and berate him and pretty much bully him, and he hates bullies, into him telling her what she needs to know for this case. And from her perspective, yes, she wanted this information, despite knowing the risks that it would put her in to protect the people she's in charge of protecting, to do her job. That is what she needed. And from Harry's perspective, A, there's rules in the council. You can't just be telling regular mortals about it. But B, it puts her in danger and he didn't want to do that. So the conflict there, but it seems like, I'm like, if he tells you don't touch the scorpion in the desk, maybe don't touch the scorpion in the desk, and then it turns into a giant thing and starts attacking them. I held a lot of the events of the first two books against her because why are you arresting Harry? Do you not believe he's a wizard? Does that not give him some leeway in how to handle events? But whatever. I held it against her for too long. I'm pretty sure I held it against her for like another 3 books. But I should have appreciated sooner that she gave him a huge out. Like, she could have hauled him in. But she's being taken off the case. We blame Rudolph for this. That brown-nosing guy in special investigations kind of unit, because he's told homicide. Yeah, it was probably this. So she's off the case and even warns him that there isn't a warrant out for your arrest yet, but it's probably coming, so be prepared. There's been a murder, Dresden. I don't care how sacred client confidentiality is to you. People are dying. Frustration made me clench my teeth. I was going to tell you about it. It's been a really busy day. In all fairness, it has been a very busy day. Too busy to talk to the police about a murder you may have witnessed, Murphy said. That's considering aiding and abetting a first-degree murder in some places, like courts of law. So that really should have been the moment that I realized, okay, I can lay off Murphy now. Past Jessica's an idiot. We've established this already. So they discussed the case. The murder on the boat was the same weapon was used to kill them as the other 2 victims. The one in, it probably wasn't Italy, but the Gaston the church mouse guy who was originally killed, and the headless corpse that Butters had brought them in on. So we know the Denarians was involved in all 3 counts, specifically the one with the crazy hair. We end up using the sheet of paper from the boat that the lady, Anna had been writing on to get a phone number. We track down an address. Susan helps us, so she calls around and figures out that a gala is being held. And this time, she's the one who can get an invitation, not Harry. So hopefully, I mean, nothing's ever gone wrong when Harry's visited a gala before, right? But before we can go to the gala, Harry has to go to the bar that he loves. Damn it, why do I forget the bar's name? McAlley's Pub. I love that place, okay? It's neutral ground. So he goes there with Shiro. He explains that he's been in duels before. We mentioned the Black Court and the Jade Court. And when Ortega gets there, with Thomas, by the way, Thomas is going to be his second. We love Thomas. We love Thomas so much. I love Thomas. So, they have a conversation. Ortega originally seems like a very level-headed man. It's like, this is the quickest way to end the war, and it would be to sacrifice your life. So why don't you just die for this cause? End this. I recognize that you had a valid reason for killing, was it Bianca, the Red Court, in her home, because what she did to Susan. I get that you were provoked. I'm not saying your reasons were wrong, but the Red Court will not accept any kind of conditional surrender or peace talks while you live. You killed a noble in her own home while you were under guest rights. That is the facts of the situation. It doesn't matter that you were provoked. This is how we end it as peacefully as possible with as minimal bloodshed as possible. Yes, I did threaten to bring a bunch of assassins in to kill all your loved ones, but like, we can't cancel the duel, because Shiro had been talking to Harry about the best way to win a duel is for there to be no duel. See if you can find common grounds to talk him out of this and not have a duel. And Harry's just like, I'm not going to just lay down my life for this. And again, he's being presented as reasonable. And Ortega says, well, there is another way. You could come work for me. If I turn you into a vampire as my subordinate, I can offer you protection. You will be alive. You can even be with Susan. And from a black and white technical standpoint, this almost is presented as reasonable because he gets to live and he can be with Susan. But it's like you're compromising every value I've ever had. You're offering to turn me into a monster. I've seen what the Red Court are in their true form. You're the reason Susan is in this position. You hurt others. And then Harry asks the only question that matters to him. Do you feed on children? The people on your land that work for you. You feed from them. Yes. And it's best for the community to divvy it up among everyone. So yes, that includes the children. And Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden is just like, you are a murderer. You are a monster. You hurt children. I will never be like you. Duel is still on. And it's a brutal scene, quite honestly. It's intense. He is terrified. He looks an ancient vampire warlord guy in the eyes and is like, one of us is going to die, and it's going to be you, before walking out to be in the cold to hide the fact that he's shaking in intense fear because he has no idea how to win a fair fight. You win a fight with these kind of vampires by being sneaky. A fair fight's going to be hard. The duel will be a test of wills. Ivy is not there because it's past her bedtime, so Kincaid gave the explanation for what's going to be. And I love that scene in the bar. We also get a conversation with Thomas, and it's all glorious. Oh, we also got an explanation for why Thomas is the second, because originally Ortega went to Thomas's father, who decided a good way to insult Ortega was to offer Thomas as a second in his stead, or in his stead, and I think that's hilarious because Thomas is wonderful. He wouldn't want him on his side, but apparently Wraith just wants to insult Ortega in addition to getting Thomas possibly killed. Jerk. Thomas also mentions that, yeah, some assassins were also sent. I sent my sisters to greet them. He's like, poor assassins. There's also some comfort to Harry that this is not even his fault. Like, not only was he forced to attack for what they did to Susan, try to rescue her, like they goaded him into it, but not only that, they're basically just using this as an excuse. They have been gathering their forces and their weapons for years, just waiting for an opportunity, and they took advantage of this to be the reason for the war, but if there was no reason for the war, they would have started it anyway, eventually. So Harry's just like, well, why is Ortega trying to stop the war if the Red Court wanted a war? He's like, it's not the precise time. They've lost the element of surprise. If we end it now, then they can just do a sneak attack when they have all their ducks in a row and can, like, attack and win in one fell swoop. But now a car shows up, and Harry gets in, and him and Susan are going to the gala. She got him a nice little tuxedo that he changes into. We have some bantering back and forth with them. They're adorable. We get to the gala. Harry is hungry, so he pockets a couple sandwiches in his soup, which I don't think ever comes into play again. And I feel like he should have used the sandwich to threaten somebody at one point in time. Instead, he uses a duck. Anyhow, he does meet Johnny Marcone, and I love Marcone so much. Gentleman Johnny Marcone. He is my favorite character in the Dresden Files. I'm obsessed. So they end up in a conversation, no soul gaze, that's already happened, the Tiger Soul guy, and at one point, Harry is just like, why'd you send those assassins after me? And I gotta get the words right. I felt my eyes narrow and took a step forward, Susan's hand pressed against my arm, silently urging restraint. I lowered my voice to something between Marcone and myself. Tell you what, let's start with one of your monkeys trying to punch my ticket in a parking garage. From there, we can move along to the part where I come up with a suitable reply. I didn't expect what happened next. Marcone blinked. It wasn't a huge giveaway. At a card table, only a couple of the players would have seen it, but I was right in his face, and I knew him, and I saw it. My words startled Marcone, and for half a second it showed. He covered it, bringing out a businessman's smile that was a lot better than my fake smile, and clapped a hand gently to my arm. Don't try me in public, Dresden. You can't afford to do it. I can't afford to let you. And then also Guard is there as his bodyguard as well. But he was shaken by the fact that someone had tried to kill Harry, and Harry had thought it was Marcone. Because again, Hendrix was even there when he was trying to be killed. But oh, he wasn't after Marcone? I wonder who he was actually after. Who was with Harry in that parking lot? Oh, Guard is also described as a Nordic angel of a date for Hendrix, so hint hint there, and she is likely the one who created the wards that end up injuring Bob when Bob went to investigate Marcone. Harry and Susan have to dance their way across the dance floor to get away from a guy with a gun, because he's not just going to pull it in the middle of the dance floor. He makes a comment, before Nick at Ragged Angel investigation, he was a dance partner at a retirement home. So just fun fact for the name of the investigation service that Harry was a part of before all this that led him to getting to his PI license. Martin then makes a distraction for them outside. He was the driver. We hear breaking glass. There's people running, and they're able to go into take advantage of the distraction to get to a different area of the gala where supposedly the shroud is going to be sold to. And Harry has a thread of the shroud from the priest guy, which he attaches to a little toy duck that will then hop and quack and lead towards the shroud. Because why not? It's adorable. We do not take the elevator because wizards and elevators are a very bad combination. And Harry follows the duck to a laundry room, which, I mean, is the perfect place to hide a shroud, but ends up having to go into a ductwork system, and he crawls through it following the little duck, where he eventually hears Anna, I keep calling her Anna, I don't know if it's Anna or Anna, having a conversation with Marcone over the phone or walkie-talkie kind of thing, where she ends up asking for even more money because convenience fees and more hassle than she thought this shroud would be worth, threatening to destroy it, burn it with a detonator device, and also, you're just plain rude and I don't like you, so give me another $1 million, which Marcone actually pays. However, Marcone does not like being taken advantage of, so that's not good for her. She's not making it out of the city alive in this case. Harry sneaks up behind her, uses the duck, the bill of the duck, as a pretend gun, and threatens her, saying, give me the shroud, or give me the device that would deactivate the shroud, the explosive that's in with the shroud. And she turns around, punches him in the nose, I'm pretty sure, realizes that it's a duck, not a gun, and pulls her own gun on him. Harry's just like, you're not going to shoot me. You're not a bad person. I want my coat back. You're not going to shoot me. Not a bad person. She shoots the concrete next to him, which sends, by his leg, sends a piece up, which does hit him and cut him. And she's like, yeah, no, I will shoot you. I like you. You're fun, but I will kill you. It's just a hassle to clean up if I do. But before they can really go any further, Denarians enter. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Denarians, or so I judged the last of them. Of the 3, he was the only one that looked human. He wore a tan trench coat casually open. His clothes were tailored fit to him and looked expensive. A slender gray tie hung loosely around his throat. And skip ahead a little bit. Well, what have we here? Our bold thief and her. I got the impression that he would have been glad to begin one of those trademark bantering conversations all the urban bad guys seem to be such a big fan of. But before he could finish the sentence, Anna Velmont turned with her little pistol and shot him 3 times in the chest. I saw him jerk and twitch. Blood abruptly started to stain his shirt and coat. She hit the heart or an artery. The man blinked and stared at Velmont in shock as more red spread over his shirt. He opened his coat a bit and looked down at the spreading scarlet. I noted that the tie he wore wasn't a tie as such. It looked like a piece of old gray rope, and though he wore it as a pyramid ornamentation, it was tied in a hangman's noose. Nick is here. I forgot Belmont shot him. Like, this man comes in, she's just like, bang, bang, bang. I dealt with the hair lady last time because she's there too. I'm just going to shoot, turn and shoot. I love her. She's wonderful. Nick terrifies me. Nicodemus, the guy with the hangman's noose around him. This man, one of my favorite villains in all of fiction. Harry then threatens the shroud, saying that they'll destroy it, hit a button, and it'll burn up if they get any closer, to which Nicodemus threatens Anna, and Harry can't allow a woman to be threatened, of course, so he backs down. Nicodemus gets the shroud, or tries to get the shroud, but Harry casts his fireball in an enclosed area, which is not safe. Fire alarms go off. People are screaming. I forget if Velmont is with them when they take off running. Yes, she's with them. He grabs her, starts running. Fire alarm is going off. They run into Susan, who fights the demon-haired girl, and she's doing fine. But a different guy casts a spell that covers her in like illusionary snakes, and Harry, in full-on rage mode, cause how dare you hurt Susan, uses a wind spell to blast the snakes away, and then Susan gets covered in all these red tattoos, I believe they were, and Nicodemus, or one of the other Denarians, is just like, the mark of the fellowship. Harry's like, what is that? Susan's like, now is not the time. run. So they end up running, gets to the car where Martin is there for the getaway driver. Anna gets in, Susan gets in. Harry tries to hand them the tube, that carrier tube, whatever, with the shroud in it, but Nicodemus is too close. His shadow undulates over, grabs him, pulls him back. Harry's just like, get out of here, go. So Martin, not needing to be told twice, I feel like they had to knock Susan out because she would have stayed and helped Harry, drives away. And then Nicodemus takes the tube, has the shroud, and now is taking Harry to be tortured, which is not good. We love Harry. So he wakes up in a underground cave. We're in Undertown, that place under Chicago. There's running water, which cancels out his magic. He is completely incapacitated, cannot fight back. Nicodemus comes and just like starts having breakfast, and he's talking to Harry. The goons that work for Nicodemus all have their tongues cut out. We learn later on in the book that they are part of essentially a religious cult that all serve Nicodemus, and it's generations. Like their parents, then the kids all serve him, and yeah, tongues get cut out. He calls Harry Maggie's youngest, and Harry's just like, youngest? She had one kid. I'm an only child. And we get a note that his father died at an aneurysm at 6, and it's heavily implied that Margaret, his father, had died via some kind of attack kind of means, giving birth to him. Harry tries to go to Nicodemus into like a false sense of security, like, what can I really do? And he's just like, yeah, I'm not underestimating you. You've destroyed 3 rival practitioners of the arts, a noble of the vampire red court, and a fairy queen. Yeah, I'm not taking any chances, Harry. However, Nicodemus also, out of respect for his mother and a history that they apparently have, tried to keep Harry out of this because he's the one who altered the prophecy that the knights got, saying Harry will die if he gets involved, if he looks for the shroud, and involved with the Denarians. And he was genuinely trying to keep him out of this, but now that he's involved, he will kill him. It was just a minor thing that he had the power to protect Harry in one little sense, and it's like, for the respect I have for your mother, I was willing to do it, but now that you're involved, you can either come work for me, or I'm going to kill you. He then starts making out with his daughter, Deidre, the snake-haired lady, which was gross. It was also the only other real time that we're sexualizing a female character, as it describes her in like a kimono with nothing under it, and I'm just like, wow, we're going like a full book, and I have no complaints about the over-sexualization right now. It's like very brief, very minor, just going with the vibe, and it's Harry, so not bad. Nicodemus offers him a coin to join him, and of course, Harry refuses. But Nicodemus is talking about how he knows him. He knows why he does what he does. And this kind of ties back to when Harry first summoned the spirit in the Cabbage Patch Kid at the beginning. She had asked a question of, why do you do this? Why do you help others? What is your goal? And he's like, I don't know. And she took that as an answer. But Nicodemus is just like, I know you better than you know yourself. I know why you do what you do, and it's out of fear. I know more about you than you do yourself, such as why you choose this kind of life for yourself, to appoint yourself protector of mortal kind, and to make yourself the enemy of any who would do them harm, to live outcast from your own kind, laughed at and mocked by most mortals, living in hovel, barely scraping by, spurring wealth and fame. Why do you do it? I'm a disciple of the Tao of Peter Parker, obviously. I guess Nicodemus was a DC Comics fan because he didn't get it. It is all you will allow yourself, and I know why. Alright, why? Because you are ruled by fear. You are afraid, Dresden. Of what? Of what you could be if you ever let yourself stray from the right-hand path, Nicodemus said. Of the power you could use. You've thought about what it might be like to bend the world to your will, the things you could have, the people. Some part of you has considered and found joy in the idea of using your abilities to take what you wish, and you are afraid of that joy, so you drive yourself towards martyrdom instead. I start to deny his words, but I couldn't. He was right, or at least not wholly wrong. My voice came out subdued. Everyone has thoughts like that sometimes. No, Nicodemus said, they don't. Most people never consider such acts. It never crossed their minds. The average mortal would have no sure way of taking that kind of power, but for you, it's different. You may pretend you are like them, but you are not. And Harry knows how powerful it is. He knows what magic can do. He knows the consequences, and he has had thoughts. He even mentioned when the coin was first brought up by Michael, the power and how he could use that kind of power. And he felt guilty immediately for thinking that, and even more guilty because he knows that Michael knew what he was thinking, and how other people would never be tempted by such power and obvious corruption. Harry, of course, denies everything Nicodemus is saying, I'm no different than anyone else. I'm just like the mortals around me. You are wrong. And then he gets scared. He doesn't want to die, and he knows for certainty that if he doesn't take this coin, Nicodemus is going to kill him. There is no way to protect himself. There's no way to save himself. He is going to die here if he doesn't take the coin. Nicodemus offers it again. This is your last chance. And Harry's response, because he hates bullies, and he knows what Nicodemus is, and he knows his own value, and he's willing to die for it. So he says, lead me not into temptation. He starts mocking him with Bible quotes. Nicodemus is ready to kill him and is like, are you sure? And Harry's just like, fuck you. But before he gets the chance to kill him, Anna, of all people, comes in shooting, followed by Susan and Shiro. So Shiro is able to dance around Nicodemus's shadow, fight him, hold him off, hold his own. Nicodemus is a monster. We learn that he's killed countless, honestly, countless members of the Knights of the Cross over centuries. Every now and then he shows up to the church to burn their records so they don't even know how many of their kind and the people that he's killed, the massacres that he's enacted, and what his plans are. And Shiro is the only one of, I think it was 3 or maybe even one of the only living ones that has ever fought him and lived. He holds Deidre hostage, and Nicodemus is like, you really think I'm going to give you the wizard to save my daughter? Kill her. It's fine. Shiro's like, she's not the hostage. And he offers a trade. Shiro will give his life for Harry's, giving his word that he will not try to escape for 24 hours if Nicodemus lets Harry go, to which Nicodemus cannot let that pass. So he releases Harry. Harry has no choice whatsoever. He is beaten, he is tortured, he is at a power, he can barely walk, it hurts to move. He goes where Susan helps him the rest of the way, and as soon as he's just past Shiro, Nicodemus orders everybody to try to kill him, but thankfully they are able to get out, and Harry is desperate to find a way to get to Shiro and save him, because he does believe he's going to be tortured, not killed. During the getaway, Harry feels energy coming after him. It's an entropy curse that's really powerful, really bad. They need to get into his house where the wards will be able to protect them. So Martin continues to drive the getaway car while Susan grabs hold to Harry. Her marks are fully formed. They jump out of the moving car, bounce around a bit. She protects Harry because she's strong. They get to his house, puts up the wards. Susan's just like, I'm about to lose control, so I need to get out of here. And he's like, yeah, those wards, we can't take them down. They're up for I don't know, it's 6 to 8 hours. We're in here together. And she's like, oh crap, I'm gonna kill you. That's not good. And then, okay, best way to say it, they end up having sex while she's tied up with a magic rope up on the ceiling. That's just, it's what happens. And then the next morning, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. She's very content with this is a good way to say goodbye, happy they could be together again. And Harry is very upset that this will be the last time that they're ever together. We also get more information about the Fellowship and her tattoos, and it's essentially the mark of St. Giles, a saint of leprosy and outcast, and how it's a warning of when they're going to lose control. So more backstory with her, and I need to start getting ready for work, so check in for the ending in a minute. All right, I might have time here today to finish talking about Death Mask. So, afterwards, Harry goes to the Carpenter house where Father Forthill is there. He explains the history with Nick. I call him Nicodemus. And how he attacks the church, kills the knights, burns the records. We have no idea of his weaknesses, how much damage he's done, and all the history that's been lost. Maven is currently attacking the camera. Now, we also learn, and I wrote it down, hang on. Andurel, maybe, is the demon who is working with Nick. It's not a possession. They are partners in this destruction of the world. And he is the demon that led the 30 fallen angels after the fall. The coin that was offered to Harry was Lashiel's, which is an odd choice as the two don't tend to get along very well. She kind of does her own thing. We get history of the goons that are working with Nicodemus, and they are a cult who had their tongues removed. They were born into this servitude. They believe wholeheartedly that Nicodemus is their savior, I guess, the one who will lead the world into a new age, and they are fanatics. Their parents worked for him, their parents' parents, so on for generations past. They are fanatically loyal to him. Again, cuts out their own tongue, or has their tongue cut out, so they can't speak bad or talk back to him, I guess. Or maybe more control. Maybe he takes his tongue and, like, binds them somehow. Is that ever brought up? Anyhow, Harry goes to speak to Anna and gets confirmation that Marcone was the one who, wanted to buy the shroud, as she does not want to help him, tries to leave, ends up tripping, and is like, fine, I'll help you out, Harry. He catches her. Just let me shower first. So he goes to Father Forthill while she's showering. They're having a nice conversation, and it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't trust Anna. She seems like a good girl, though. I mean, why wouldn't I? Hears his car start running. She stole his keys, did not go to the shower, broke the Blue Beetle's window, and started driving away. And it's just like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have trusted her. However, during this conversation, it's revealed that Father Forthill and all his friends have been kind of the same. They studied the church together to become priests, and they all got this same tattoo as they were fighting monsters in their own time. But, things kind of eased off in their old age, so they haven't had to do that very much. And Harry's just like, that tattoo, and recognizes it as the same tattoo as the one that was on the body at Butter's place, or morgue. And as he pieces everything together, that's when Michael and Sonia show up. So he's like, come on, guys, we have work to do. Let's go talk to Father Vincent. So he goes to the motel where Father Vincent is, calls him, says, Mio's there, I got information on the shroud, kicks the door in and pulls a gun on him. It's like, yeah, you're not Father Vincent. You're the monster that's looking like him. It is one of the fallen, one of the Denarians, and shapeshifter lizard guy who can look like him. And that's when things get a little messy, because the demon is just like, I'm going to take a nap now. After insulting Harry, insulting Susan, insulting everybody, and wanting to kill them all, I was like, I'm going to take a nap. And then the human takes over, the human who is being possessed. But he's all for this. He's like, oh, woe is me. I see the light now. It was wrong. I repent. I'll even give up my coin, knowing he'll get another coin later. And Harry's just like, he doesn't mean this. It isn't a true apology. Kill him. We need to torture him for information for where Nicodemus is. And Michael and Sonia are just like, he repented. He gave up. It's not our job to torture. Our job is to save these people, not to inflict violence when they have willingly given up the coin and repented. He doesn't mean it. He's lying through his teeth. Buddy's like grinning. It's clearly a lie. He's like, it doesn't matter. We cannot stoop to their level. And Harry's just like, fine, I understand. And they leave. And Buddy's just grinning and laughing. It's like, I'm going to get my coin back and I'm going to kill you all. And Harry's just like, what are you talking about? The Knights of the Cross just left. Now you're stuck here with me. Bashes out both his knees in the ribs, hits him in the head, takes the baseball bat to him. He is bloodying him. And then he walks out, just like, all right, I gave him a quarter for the payphone so he can call his own ambulance or ride to the hospital. Let's go. He gave the instructions. And Sonia's just like, aren't payphones like 50 cents now? And Harry's just like, yeah, it's like a however many mile walk. And he doesn't even have enough money for it. And he bursts out laughing as they drive away. My name is Quintus Cassius, and I have long been a slave to the will of the demon Sariel, his dark eyes glittering with malice as his tone dripped with sarcasm. I beg you for mercy and the chance to mend my ways. How can I ever thank you, Sir Knight, for saving me from this torment? Shit, he was playing the morality card? I shot a glance at Michael. The big man frowned at Snake Boy Cassius, but didn't miss a beat in drawing out a white handkerchief embroidered with a silver cross and folded the coin up in it. Michael and Sonia exchanged a long look, and then both of them put away their swords. Guys, what the hell are you doing? Dangerous demon murder here, remember? Harry, Michael said. We can't. Not if he surrendered the coin and asked for mercy. What? I demanded. That's stupid. Of course it is, Cassius said, glee dancing in his voice. They know that I'm not sincere. They know that I will turn on them at the first opportunity, that I will obtain one of the other coins and return to what I have done for centuries. I stood up, angry enough that the chair fell over. Michael, if you turn the other cheek on this bastard, he's going to tear off your face. You're supposed to be the freaking fist of God. No, I'm not, Harry, Michael said. The purpose of the Knights is not to destroy those who serve evil. Indeed, it's not, Cassius said. Somehow there was more of a hiss in his voice now than when he had been a snake. They're here to save us. To save them? I snarled at Michael. Is he kidding? Michael shook his head. No. No one else can face the Denarians, Harry. No one else can challenge the fallen. This moment might be the only chance Cassius has to turn aside from what he has chosen, to change his path. Great. I'm all for changing his path. Let's change it to a direct line to the bottom of Lake Michigan. Michael's expression was pained. The Knights are here to protect freedom, to give those who are under the oppression of dark forces a chance to win free of them. I cannot sit in judgment on this man's soul, Harry Dresden. Not for you, not for anyone. All I can do is remain faithful to my calling. Give him the chance to see hope for his future, to show him the love and compassion any human being should show another. The rest is out of my hands. I watched Cassius' face while Michael spoke. His expression changed. It became hard, more brittle, and bitter. What Michael had said had touched him. I didn't believe for a second that it had touched Cassius enough to change his mind, but it touched him enough to drive him towards fury. I turned to Michael and said, do you really think that this thing is going to start sipping the milk of human kindness? No, Michael said. But that does not change my purpose. He has surrendered his coin and the influences of it. The rest is not for Sonia or me to decide, is Cassius's choice. You've seen these things, I snarled, stalking over to face Michael. I've seen the corpses they left. They would have killed me. Susan, you, hell, all of us, without blinking an eye. God knows what they have in mind with that curse they're putting together. All power has its limits, Harry. He shook his head. This is the limit of mine. Without really thinking about it, I shoved his shoulders. They might have already killed Shiro, and you're going to let this bastard walk. Michael caught my arm in one hand and twisted. Michael is strong. I had to rise up onto my toes to relieve the pressure he put on my elbow and shoved me back from him, his eyes hard and cold and angry as hell. I know that, he said in the same deadly quiet voice. I know they've hurt him, that they're going to kill him, just as Shiro knew that Nicodemus would betray his promise to set you free. It's one of the things that makes us different from them, Harry. The blood on their hands does not make it right to bloody my own. My choices are measured against my own soul, not against the stains on theirs. He looked at Cassius, and the Denarian flinched away from the silent flame in Michael's expression. It is not for me to judge his soul, no matter how much I might want to. Hell's bells, I muttered. No wonder Nicodemus has killed so many knights if you're all as idiotic as this. Harry, Michael began. Look at him, Michael. He isn't a victim. He's a freaking collaborator. That poor bastard Rasmussen might have been dragooned into working with the Denarians, but Cassius does it because he wants to. There's no way for you to be sure of that, Harry, said Sonia. Why are you even giving him a fair chance? Which of them has ever turned away from their coins? Sonia put his dark hands on my shoulder and said, I did. I looked back and forth. I was one of their numbers, said Sonia. I was less experienced, foolish, proud. I did not set out to be a monster, but that much power corrupts. Shiro faced the fallen I had allowed in. He exposed its lies, and I made a better choice. Traitor, Cassius said, his voice cold. We handed you the world, power, glory, everything you could have wanted. Sonia faced the man and said, what I wanted, you could never give me. I had to find it for myself. He extended a hand. Cassius, you can leave them just as I did. Help us, please, and let us help you. Cassius leaned back as though Sonia's hand might burn him and hissed, I will eat your eyes. We can't leave him here, I said. He'll shoot us in the back. He'll try to kill us. Maybe, Michael said quietly, and didn't move. I want to be angry with Sonia and Michael, but I couldn't. I'm only human. I flirted with dark powers before, made stupid deals, bad choices. I'd been given a chance to work free of them, or I'd have been dead long ago. Michael and Sonia walk out. Fools, Cassius muttered, rising. Weak fools. I picked up the bat again and turned to the door. You're wrong, I said to Cassius. Weak, Cassius repeated. The old man was screaming. After only an hour, you know. Nicodemus started with his back, lashed him with change. Then Deidre played with him. I gave Cassius a hard look over my shoulder. Deidre likes breaking fingers and toes. I wish I'd been able to stay longer. I only got to pull out a few toenails. His smile widened, eyes gleaming. The woman, the fellowship woman, she's yours. I felt my lips lift away from my teeth. Cassius' eyes gleamed. She bled pretty, didn't she? The next time I catch her, you won't be there to disrupt my conjuring. I'll let the snakes eat her, bite by bite. I stared at him. Cassius smiled again. But there is mercy for me, is there not? Forgiveness, indeed.
God is great. I turned away from him and again said very quietly, people like you always mistake compassion for weakness. Michael and Sonia aren't weak. Fortunately for you, they are good men. Cassius laughed at me. Unfortunately for you, I am not. I spun around, swinging the bat as hard as I could, and broke Cassius' right kneecap. He screamed in shock and suddenly surprised and went down. Odd, crackling sounds came from the joint. I swung again and broke his right ankle. Cassius screamed. I broke his left knee for him too, and his left ankle. He was thrashing around and screaming a lot, so I took maybe a dozen swings. Stop, he managed to gasp. Stop, stop, stop. I kicked him in the mouth to shut him up and stomped his right forearm to the floor and crushed his hand with another half-dozen swings. I pinned his left arm down and the same way and put the bat on my shoulder. Listen to me, you worthless piece of shit. You aren't a victim. You are choosing to be one of them. You've been serving dark forces your whole life. Freddie Mercury would say Beelzebub has a devil put aside for you. What do you think you're doing? He gasped. You can't. You won't. I leaned down and twisted his false priest collar, half choking him. The knights are good men. I am not. And I won't lose a second's sleep over killing you. I shook him with each word hard enough to rattle his bloody teeth. Where is Nicodemus? So as an explanation of what's happened so far, Marcone had figured out that Father Vincent had been killed and replaced with imposter. So when he had hired the goons to go shoot at Harry in the parking lot, it wasn't for Harry. They were actually targeting Father Vincent. The Father Vincent had died of all the plagues, and that's who's on Butter's morgue table. So he was a warm-up, using this ceremonial silver bowl for the ritual, almost like a practice on can this actually work. So yes, you can inflict all the plagues of the world on one person, and now their plan is to do it worldwide. Harry puts it together that they must be going to like an international airport, so it has time to spread. After all, things diminish a little bit with sundown, but maybe the ritual will be more powerful, but it wants to get as far as possible, as quickly as possible. Next, Harry calls Murphy, gives her a heads up, and decides to get Rudolph probably a little bit in trouble by hinting to him that there's going to be a terrorist attack at the airport, so a bunch of police officers will be in the area, hopefully, and also evacuate, so hopefully limit the people who could be exposed to the plague, and also maybe dissuade Nicodemus from unleashing it in the first place. That doesn't work. Before we can get to the airport, because we got a time, I think it's like 8 o'clock at night, Harry remembers, oh yeah, that whole duel that I got with Ortega is about to happen. So Susan shows up with a duffel bag, and they go to the stadium, baseball field, diamond, and it's like, yeah, let's go do this before the plague starts. And past Jessica is just like, why did we even include this? Like, is this just a non-necessary thing to pad the runtime and craziness and everything piling on top of everything Harry has to deal with in such a short period of time? And no, it was there for a reason. So Thomas shows up for as Ortega's second, wearing a Buffy the Vampire t-shirt. That was very important information because Thomas is awesome. And the test will be of wills. So the archive, Ivy, we love her, pulls something out of the bag, and Harry is shocked, recognizing what it is. Thomas refers to it as a bug zapper, but it's technically Mordite, which is described as a death stone. What does it do? Thomas asked. It kills, hence the name Death Stone, you half-wit. Oh, Thomas said, nodding with a drunken stagger. If you disrespect this thing, it's going to get you killed, I said. It would kill any living thing exactly the same way, anything. It's not from our world. It's extraterrestrial? Asked Susan. You don't understand, Miss Rodriguez, Ortega said quietly. Mordite is not from this galaxy or this universe. It is not of our reality. I have reservations about Ortega's presence on the home team roster, but I nodded. It's from outside. It's congealed anti-life. A chip of this stuff makes nuclear waste look like secondhand smoke. Being near it draws the life off you bit by bit. If you touch it, it kills you, period. It's from outside. Somehow I think this is going to become important later on in the series. So, very quickly, they stand at opposite ends of the stadium, each blasting out their wills. The Mordite
floats in the center. Ortega makes a strong pushing it towards Harry. Harry has to really push back with his own will to stop it. It's a to and fro, back and forth. Ortega pulls out a gun. He's got his arm and the sleeves hanging down this way, and he's just got his gun. He's going to shoot Harry and kill him there, because he only cares about Harry's death, doesn't really care about winning fairly, even if this will result in his death as well. However, little sniper beam shows up on Ortega and takes the shot first, causing craziness. Thing is swirling around, but then Kincaid moves to protect Ivy. He starts shooting people. Multiple machine guns, semi-automatics. Hang on. He doesn't take time to, like, reload. He just keeps picking more guns out of a duffel bag. Semi-automatic gun in hand. Thomas got Susan to safety, which is great because we love Thomas. Susan moved to protect Harry. That's how she got injured and thrown across the field. Yeah, pulling shotguns from a golf bag. The archive took control of the Mordite spear and took out the rest of the vampires with it. So Mordite, which just everybody dissolves, destroys anything that touches it, spins around, getting all the vampires that charged onto the field when Ortega got shot. But Ortega was ushered away to safety before everyone got taken out. And Harry is declared the not so much victor, but you technically won because we don't know who broke the rules first. It's also revealed that Thomas had been working with Susan and Guy with the forgettable face all this time, feeding him information about the court, about the impending duel, about Ortega's plans, and purposely got himself in to be the second. But meanwhile, he's pretending to be like half drunk, be like, what? Me? Conspiring against my own father and family and the vampires as a whole? No, couldn't be. And it was wonderful. Now Harry, having won, and Chicago being neutral zone for the vampires, has to go stop the world from ending with the plague. So gets to the airport. Little bit of craziness happens with the goons shooting at them and the police being there because a bomb threat was called in. Find Shiro on an altar, brutalized is the only polite way to say it. He was tortured to the point of death, but it turns out he's still alive. They're too late. The plague has been unleashed, and they have to get the shroud away from Nicodemus to stop it. Shiro gives them some hope, some final words. He says goodbye to Michael, who had just stabbed somebody through a door. Like, Michael can be violent when he's facing the bad guys. Doesn't help that he's been angry. But Shiro says goodbye to everyone. He gives his sword to Harry to choose the next owner of it, which is beautiful. It shows his trust in him. It's a touching moment. And then they have to leave him. So they end up, him being told that Nick is going to take the shroud on a train, and they figure out which train it is, and then they go to an open field, and Sonia and Michael is just like, what are we doing here? It's like, waiting for our ride. And a big helicopter comes down, piloted, well, by Marcone's men. We get Marcone is back. I was so worried we weren't getting enough Marcone in the story the first time I read it, because he's my favorite, and when he's only in for a second, I get so upset. But he's here, and he's helping Harry. Harry called him for help, and it's beautiful. So they go on the plane. Cujo is piloting with Guard. Why do I keep forgetting her name? There as well. And it's like, all right, play Knights of the Valkyrie and let's go. And they go after the train as Harry and Marcone have a little bit of back and forth. So takes the helicopter into position over the train that most likely has the shroud, and it used to be for like rescue in water and all that. So lowers each one down. They land on the train, try really hard not to fall off, and continue walking down the train where they're attacked by some weird bat creature, animal, possessed monster. Shoots it a lot of times. It falls off the train, and then they keep going until they end up getting to Nicodemus. They do some fighting on the train. Nicodemus ends up at the other end of the train holding a full-on katana. For some reason, I never expect the villain with weird powers and powers of the devil and shooting all the time to also just be a master at fighting with a sword. So him and Michael and Sonia start fighting. Deidre gets in between them. They end up shooting Deidre to protect Sonia, and Marcone ends up saving Michael by just blasting Nicodemus full holes with whatever type of gun he has, and he ends up falling off the train. And Marcone's just like, do you think that killed him? And it's like, quite honestly, I don't think you can kill him that way. And Marcone's just like, do you think he can like run faster than this train? I was like, probably. Turns out can't run faster than the train because, or at least we don't know if he can, because he starts flying faster than the train. His shadow thing had turned into wings to get him back on the train, and they sever the carts so to put them further away. And like the idiots that our group are, they jump and land on the back of the train to continue fighting. Harry ends up pulling a brilliant move and realizes that that noose around his neck is probably the source of some of his power, but it's also a noose around your neck. So he pulls it and starts choking Nicodemus out. Marcone ends up getting the shroud from Nicodemus, therefore breaking the plague curse. The idea wasn't really to start a full-on apocalypse, but just sow unrest, distrust, start a plague, everyone starts looking out for themselves, and that just being like the first step of destroying the world. But Nicodemus did end up shooting Michael. We had this whole conversation about how he's wearing basically a full-on suit of armor, which is great for protecting against swords, whereas Sonya likes like Kevlar to protect against guns, but like a bullet's going to go through this armor, especially at such short distances, which is what happens. So Michael falls into the water. Harry jumps in after him, or falls as well. He would have jumped if he didn't fall. And he finds Michael to hold him, try to get him up, but he's losing consciousness from the fight, and it ends up being Marcone to jump in to save them, pulling them up with the sliver of the shroud that wasn't damaged, and gets them to the shore where they're able to be rescued. Harry then wakes in the morgue, which is always a wonderful place to wake up in, to Butters performing surgery to remove said bullets from his body. And he's like, guys, I'm not dead. We know you're not dead. We couldn't bring you upstairs. You mess with all the machinery. Butters is complaining about the pictures that they took. Why is there so much interference in the images? Because he's a wizard. The magic screws with technology. I don't even know where the bullet is. Remove it, Butters. I'm a mortician. I don't work with living people. You went to med school, didn't you? And Harry just passes out. And then eventually he wakes up recovering at the carpenter's house, and it's beautiful and it's lovely.
Michael is fine because Charity insisted on putting Kevlar within the armor.
He ends up going outside and spending time with baby Harry, who's named after him, and it's a wonderful time. They're having a barbecue, sending off Sonya, who's going back home. They get a letter from Shiro explaining that he knew he had a terminal cancer disease, that he didn't have much time left anyway, and he was willing to sacrifice himself for Harry, for the world. It's a happy, happy ending send-off. And then a car drives by and tosses something out of the window in front of baby Harry. It is the denarius coin thing. And before Harry can even think about what he's doing, he's just like, I protect child, puts his own hand over the coin to stop little Harry from picking it up. And then he takes it and puts it in his pockets. He now has Lashiel's coin with him, and it is power. And he's afraid to tell Michael about it. So they go in. He ends up burying the coin with a ring of salt around it in full concrete, and just like, I'm sure that'll be fine. But he didn't choose to give it over to like Father Forthill or anything. We also get a send-off with Marcone. Essentially, when Marcone was coming up in the Mafia, a girl had been shot, severely injured. She's in a coma. He took responsibility for that. He felt bad. He hates it when kids get messed up in things that they weren't involved in. He tries to keep innocent people out of his mob business, and especially kids. He's very stern on no hurting kids. So she is in this thing. I believe her own parents don't even know she's alive, if I remember correctly. And he's paying for her care and to keep her comfortable. But again, she's in a coma. She's not recovering. So he wanted the shroud to see if it would make her better. To which Harry said, all right, listen, the shroud got to get returned, but how about we just place it on her for X number of days, however many that took Christ to rise. Was it 3? Yeah, 3 days. And if it's going to work, it's going to work in that amount of time. After that, return it. And Marcone's just like, do you plan to tell anyone about her? Like, this is my weakness. I'll kill you first. And Harry's just like, come on, you know me better than that. So they part as not friends, but we're on the same side. We're working to protect the city. Keep things away from the good people. And it's beautiful, and I love it. What else happens? He gets his coat back because Anna made it out of the city, and she sent him like his the keys to his car, and it has a receipt to a dry cleaners to get his coat back, and it's all wonderful if it wasn't for Lashiel's coin in his basement. And that is where the book ends, and I absolutely love Death Mask so much. It used to be probably my favorite of the Dresden Files in the early books. I'm like, man, that was good. Can't get any better than that. Oh, past Jessica, sweet summer child. It gets so much better. So that is all I got. Talk to you later. Bye.
I lied because we're not done. Because McCoy ends up calling Harry. It's just like, turn on the news, Haas. Harry turns on the news, and a satellite has crashed into a old castle where Ortega had gathered all his like vampire knights, high court people. He had been planning an attack on Chicago, breaking the truce. This Chicago's now neutral ground. They're not allowed to go after Harry or his friends in Chicago. And they have been planning to just strike on Harry specifically, kill him, end the war kind of thing. And a satellite crashed on it. Remember that satellite we mentioned in the beginning of the book? McCoy used it to destroy Ortega and all his followers, people in his immediate circle. But focusing on that, McCoy used magic to kill somebody, breaking one of the most important, if not the most important, rule and law of magic, to not kill anyone with it. The law that is burned into Harry's soul as he killed someone using magic, to take something pure and creation and cause death with it. McCoy did that. The crime that nearly got Harry killed as a child. Explanations in later books. Now that's all I got. Talk to you later.